So I did some research and I made a video about how we can get better faster at jiu-jitsu. The worst is when you do a technique and you literally can't remember it the next day, sometimes even a couple of hours later. I think it's for that reason that a lot of people quit at white belt and blue belt level, but we're not going to quit. We're going to keep going. In this video, I'll be talking about a mix of concepts, techniques, and mindset hacks. Okay, let's get into it. Train regularly and consistently. If you're training once a week, you're not gonna make any progress. You can maintain progress, but you can't make any progress. If you're doing 5 sessions one week and the next week you don't train at all, and then the following week you do 2 sessions, and the next week you do 1 session, it would be better to just train 2 or 3 times a week, every week for 6 months. Then you're gonna get a lot better. Don't worry, I also found lots of other stuff we can do to get better. It can be kind of frustrating when you feel as if you're not progressing quickly enough and people just tell you to do more. Learn concepts as well as movements. A movement is what we are supposed to do. A concept is why we are doing it. When I learned that when I'm holding guard, I wanna have my hips high, and when I'm passing someone's guard, I want to push their hips low to weaken their guard, that completely changed how I viewed both maintaining guard and guard passing. And it literally took 1 minute for me to absorb that information. Don't compare yourself to others. No. It's hard, right? Especially if someone is at the same level as you, maybe they have the same belt as you, they're the same weight, gender, level of athleticism, maybe they have the same name as you. That's probably unlikely, especially if you have a name like Nyla. My point is that it almost seems like a natural reflex for us to compare ourselves to others. But when we compare ourselves to other people, we are, by the very definition of doing it, not focusing on ourselves. We're literally observing another person and not thinking about ourselves. We're not thinking about the hard work that we need to do to get better. Have you ever noticed that there's something slightly comfortable about comparing yourself to another person? When I catch myself doing it, it feels as if I'm languishing in a warm bath of self-pity. So we gotta try not to do it. You don't know how long that person has been training for. Even if they tell you, you don't know how long they've been training for, because sometimes people lie about how long they've been training jiu-jitsu. I don't know why, but people do it. And even if they have been training for exactly the same amount of time as you, you don't know how much work that person has put into their body. Maybe they come from an athletic background and they've literally trained for hours and hours on speed and coordination. The point is, you're better than you were 3 months ago, and that's the thing to focus on. I also think that when we compare ourselves to other people, it kind of makes the other person feel uncomfortable. It's something that I've felt when I've noticed that people are asking me how long I've been training and comparing themselves to me. It's made me feel a little bit like I'm being encroached upon. And I think that's because we can sense that the other person is just observing us a little too closely. Really, they should just be focusing on themselves. Also, it doesn't really matter because it's not like you can just become that person. Goal setting helps focus the brain. After we set a goal, we literally start to perceive the world in relation to that goal. Achieving goals activates the dopaminergic system and the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for decision-making, planning, and self-control. For example, if you set yourself the goal of eating healthier, you're less likely to even look at the dessert section of a menu at a restaurant. It's just not where your focus is. Pursuing goals can lead to changes in neural connections, reinforcing learning and skill acquisition. Think about it. If you want to get somewhere you've never been to before, you're going to have to do something you've never done and learn the skills that enable you to do that. This builds new connections in the brain. Goals can be short-term, medium-term, or long-term. An example of a very short-term goal would be, when I go into this role with this advanced blue belt, I'm going to try and last the whole minute without being submitted. It's a white belt goal. A medium-term goal might be, over the course of the next 2 weeks, I want to learn the spider guard escape we're doing in class. A long-term goal could be, I'd like to do my first jiu-jitsu competition by the end of this year. The trick with those long-term goals is to split them up into smaller, more achievable goals. You want to be thinking about when you can regularly train, committing to attending those sessions, telling the people who can help you, like your training partners and coaches, what your goal is. Make sure your goals are focused on actions and not results. Rather than having the goal of wanting to become a blue belt, which, don't get me wrong, is a great goal, it's probably going to be more productive to look at the actions you can take, such as learning specific techniques and ways of doing things and concepts which are going to get you to that level. Trust me, when you sign up for a competition, you will commit to training consistently before it. It's a bit like having a really fun exam to prepare for. The threat of humiliation is a great motivator. When I did my first jiu-jitsu competition, I felt as if I'd taken a month of training and condensed it into that one experience. So from doing the comp, it was a bit like I got a month of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu out of it. The person you fight does not know you. They don't have to see you in class the following week. They don't care about your ego. They do not know about your weaknesses or your strengths. People generally agree that the experience of competition is more intense than training in class, and it shows us how we and our jiu-jitsu respond to pressure. Develop a base level of fitness. If you're finding in training that your arms and legs are so tired you can barely lift them up, then of course everybody's going to be able to pass your guard. Basically, we don't want our fitness levels to get in the way of training. We want them to facilitate training. So do whatever you need to do to develop your conditioning. This prevents overtraining. Overtraining is kind of dangerous, both for your physical health and your jiu-jitsu. If we overtrain, we can get injured and also get sick really easily, because when we exercise at great intensity, this temporarily suppresses the immune system. In order to keep yourself moving, ensure proper recovery. Drink enough water while you train. If I don't drink enough water when I'm training, sometimes the next day I'll just wake up with a headache. Make sure you're eating enough protein to sustain you, repair those muscles, and keep you going. I recently made a video about cutting weight for a competition where I talked about how I was eating double my weight in grams in protein per day. I've actually just increased that to just over double, and I have to say I'm feeling even better. That said, we all have a limit to how much we can train, so we need to make sure we're training in the most effective way possible. For example, if you're a beginner, it's probably more productive for you to just attend 3 beginners classes per week where you're going over the same technique over and over again, as boring and difficult as that can be, rather than doing 1 beginner's class and maybe 3 advanced classes and then 1 Nogi class, and I don't know, let's just throw in some karate for good measure. Use film to add another dimension to your training. You can film your competition matches, you can film your rolls, you can even film your coach while they demonstrate the move to you in class. Obviously, ask their permission first. Say you film yourself doing a roll and you make a mistake. You can then take that footage and show it to your coach and learn from the mistake you made. It's literally so easy to film yourself on your phone. I'm filming myself on my phone right now. There's kind of no excuse not to do this if you want to get better at jiu-jitsu faster, aside from the fact that you have to remember to actually do it. By the way, I'm not saying I'm doing all of this stuff, I'm just saying I found out that I could do it. I guess maybe I should. Look, here's an example of where I filmed myself during a competition I did last year. In this instance, I'm on the bottom in the camo shorts. You can see that I'm attempting a triangle submission, but she rolls out of it. While having filmed this, I was able to show it to my coach afterwards, and he told me that the reason she was able to roll out of my submission attempt is that I didn't continue to hold her leg. I have my hand wrapped around under her thigh here, but then as she rolls, I kind of let it go. So she escapes, and then she's on top of me, which is not good. Now, when I go for triangles, I literally always hold the leg. Because I showed my coach this, I was able to understand what went wrong in this situation. It was for that reason that I was able to secure the submission at a competition at a later date. And the full video of that particular competition is available on my channel. Cross-training. You can cross-train other sports such as judo or wrestling. Engaging in other martial arts that have stylistic crossovers with jiu-jitsu will add to your game. You can also cross-train at other gyms to learn new techniques and ways of doing things. Just last week, I tried this at a reputable London gym that allows drop-ins, and I found it so helpful. When we cross-train, we have access to different training partners, coaches, perspectives, cultural values, techniques, and training styles. Adopt a growth mindset. Basically, if you want to achieve anything, adopt a growth mindset. The term growth mindset was coined by psychologist Carol Dweck in her research on achievement and success. One of the premises of having a growth mindset is believing that we can achieve our goals through consistency, hard work, and dedication. It's not that we can't perform a takedown, we just haven't learnt how to do it yet. If we work hard and apply ourselves, we'll be able to. Before she talks about having a growth mindset, Dweck talks about the importance of not having a fixed mindset. Having a fixed mindset is literally the worst thing ever. And it was something I've definitely had to decide that I wasn't going to do as a white belt learning jiu-jitsu. When we have a fixed mindset, we avoid challenges, give up easily, see effort as bad, and feel threatened by the success of others. Ugh, that one is my absolute least favourite of all of these. I always want to be someone who celebrates the success of others. When we have a fixed mindset, we also ignore advice because it feels so uncomfortable to change our current approach. Instead, We want to be doing the opposite of these things. We want to embrace challenges, see effort as the pathway to getting better at jiu-jitsu, and listen to other people. And rather than feeling threatened by other people's success, we can feel encouraged and perhaps even try to reenact certain aspects of their approach. One of the most important things about adopting a growth mindset is viewing setbacks and failures as opportunity for learning. Say you get tapped during a training session, instead of thinking to yourself, I must be having a bad day today, rather think, great, here's a chance for me to learn something and move forward. Adopting a growth mindset could be the antidote to discouragement, allowing us to feel better about our shortcomings and to progress faster as we learn from our mistakes. Get some drilling buddies. Surround yourself with a team of people who are trying to achieve the same things as you. Something that I've done recently is get together a group of girls who are at a similar level to me. We're in a WhatsApp group, we can swap tips, videos, instructionals on training. We also arrange to meet in class or at open mat in order to practice techniques together. Being on a team or in a group environment like that also creates accountability and motivation. You're much more likely to show up to class if you've told people that you're going to be there. You can celebrate successes together and also work on weaknesses. I've noticed that having this separate line of communication on my phone has added another dimension to how I'm learning jiu-jitsu. No one achieves anything on their own, and we especially don't learn jiu-jitsu on our own. That said, sometimes our favourite training partners just aren't available, and that can actually be a good thing. Or say you train at a smaller gym, or you enter a new environment. We can't always choose who our training partners are, and for that reason, we need to make the most out of every training situation. This is sometimes referred to as using all of your training partners. While it can be tempting to keep training with the same people over and over again, over time, this creates the jiu-jitsu equivalent of an echo chamber, which means that your body and skills are not adapting to new circumstances and ideas. You don't know what you don't know, and one of the roles of other people in jiu-jitsu is to expose you to the weaknesses in your game. So train with people of different weights, speed levels, strengths, and abilities. Doing so might be uncomfortable in the short term, but will make you better in the long term and help you to progress faster. Multiple IBJF world champion and performance coach Emily Kwok talks about the importance of having an abundance mindset rather than one of scarcity when it comes to learning jiu-jitsu. Kwok talks about how instead of waiting for the right resources to present themselves during the training session, we can rather adapt and use the resources which are available. In doing this, we're able to unlock new opportunities that we didn't previously know were there. If we wait for the right circumstances to learn something, those circumstances may never present themselves. And perhaps there are no right circumstances for learning jiu-jitsu. Maybe it will always be slightly imperfect. Do not try to win the training. When we try to win the training, we lose out on the learning. Obviously, it can be uncomfortable being submitted by someone, but if we show up to training constantly playing our A game, never trying new techniques, then we never get a chance to work on anything. Our training partners are there to make us better. They are not our competition. Do white belts even have an A game? Also, if you show up at every training session and are super aggressive, people won't like you very much, and then you won't have good training partners. Be playful. It's been found in numerous psychological studies that learning activities through play speeds up the whole process. Ultimately, we train jiu-jitsu because we love it, not for any other reason. I'd love to have you come with me on my jiu-jitsu training journey. If you want to come along, go ahead and hit subscribe.